Hello, everyone, and welcome to Webinar Wednesday. I'm your host, Kelly Cothran, and I want to thank you for joining us today. June is usually packed full of family trips, vacations, weddings, and even some business trips. Eating healthy while traveling can be very challenging, and I'm certainly experiencing this firsthand. Today, we are covering a health topic that has never been covered before, and I have with me internal medicine physician, Dr. Felicia Jordan from Kelsey-Seybold Cinco Ranch Clinic as our presenter. She is board certified by the American Board of Internal Medicine. Her clinical interests include diabetes management and women's health. She joined the Kelsey-Seybold family in August 2010, and she likes to spend most of her time cooking, gardening, and exercising. Another little fun fact is that she's an avid Gator fan and college and football enthusiast. Now that you know a little bit about our speaker, it's time to hear from you. In your webinar window, you should see today's poll question. When you take a trip, does your diet go on vacation too? I will give you a few seconds to answer. At the end of the webinar, we will reveal the results and take any questions you may have. Just a few more seconds. Alrighty, now I will hand it over to Dr. Jordan to get us started.
Thank you, Kelly. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time out to spend your busy lunch schedule with us. I know you could be running errands or doing something else, but instead you decide to spend I was going to say an hour, but it won't be an hour, so don't be afraid. But spend a little time listening to me sort of talk about this topic. I know that sort of looking at the poll will sort of show the actual result later, but looking at the poll, I think this is actually a great topic because I know a lot of times it is much harder to control what we do once we're sort of enjoying ourselves on vacations. So our first slide, planes, trains, and automobiles. So many people use vacations as an excuse to eat foods that they don't normally eat. And when we're traveling, there are usually two food options. You're either bringing something on yourself or you're buying your meals on the go. But today, by going through some tips, we'll be able to show that it's actually possible to enjoy your vacation and experience some of the local food without packing on those extra pounds that you'll have to explain later. Now, the challenges when we're traveling are multifold. There's temptations with hotel vending machines, mini bars, 24-hour room service, changes in your eating and sleeping schedule. A lot of times we may eat out later than usual, dining out if staying in a hotel, or just trying to experience the local cuisine. Difficulty scheduling time for exercise or fitness, having to eat on the go, eating in the car, and actually just finding healthy meals and snack options. So those are the challenges, and we are going to try to dispel some of the myths as far as being able to eat healthy while you're on vacation. So, not quite Dave Letterman. This is 9 and not 10, but these will be my 9 summer travel food tips. So, number 1. Eat in once a day. You know, this can actually help save money, time, and calories. I actually do this especially when I'm traveling for meetings because typically meeting times you're going to have either a continental breakfast, which is bagels, pastries, or full fat breakfast like biscuits, scrambled eggs, and bacon, none of which I can really eat and stay, honest to myself. So I always tell patients, and what I do myself is actually try to pre-pack some options that you can actually put in your luggage like instant oatmeals, fresh fruit, light breakfast bars. And if you know ahead of time that you're actually going to have a mini fridge, a lot of times I'll also bring things like Greek yogurt and cheese sticks, because these are some of the things that are sort of quick and easy. You can eat in your room before you actually go down to the meeting. And like I said, a lot of the hotels nowadays, a continental, breakfast dine-in might be $20, where you can get a package of oatmeal for $1 or $2. So it might save you some money too. Another thing would be go for 0-calorie beverages, or at least low-calorie beverages. I tell people all the time, stop drinking your calories. You can actually enjoy a lot more food and whatnot instead of trying to drink everything. So you don't need to add hundreds of calories on top of the already calories you're already be consuming for your food. For water, instead of trying to have sodas or a lot of juices, you can always give a little bit of flavor with lemon or lime. Unsweetened hot or cold tea, coffee, sparkling water, club soda, or diet soda. Alcohol is also a huge diet disaster if you're really not paying attention. I know a lot of times if you're at all-inclusive resorts or things like that, people say, well, I'm really going to get my money's worth. But I understand that. However, those 5 daiquiris will really add up quite a bit. One strawberry daiquiri can range anywhere from 250 to 300 calories. We're in Texas, margaritas, about 250 calories a drink. And some of the things that sound like they may be calorie-free really aren't. A lot of times people will mix tonic water with their gin or vodka. And tonic water, 1 can of tonic water is actually 140 calories. So these are some of the things that you really need to look out for. Not even with traveling, but, if you're a Starbucks person, you have to really be careful with all your Frappuccinos and stuff. And I know you're saying, oh, I can just splurge, I'm on vacation. But again, these things really can add up. So you need to watch that. The next travel tip is downsizing your portions. Now, I'm not going to say, some days you're not going to splurge because, of course, you are on vacation. But I just say sort of be mindful of what you're eating. Consider ordering off the kids menu, although sometimes I know the kids menu may have things like nuggets, pizza, or tater tots, so it may not actually be the healthiest thing. But a lot of times what me and my husband will do, because it also affords us the choices of trying to try a lot of different things on the menu, is that we actually order almost tapas style. And we'll actually order a lot of different appetizers that we might be wanting to try instead of a huge entree. Or if you do choose to pick an entree, you can always split an entree, with whoever you're traveling with. Another food tip, and you sort of have to be a little aggressive with this, but don't be afraid to ask your waiter, questions. Ask how the dish is prepared. Then you can sort of customize it to how you want it. For example, a lot of meats that might be fried in a dish, you can get it ordered grilled instead. Ask for sauces, gravies, dressings to be served on the side so you can actually dip them. A lot of times we order a salad because we think a salad is going to be healthy, but then if you get things like chopped salad that actually has the bacon, the egg, the dressings on it, that actually ends up being higher calories sometimes than if you would have just gotten a regular entree. I, for myself, I love pasta, but I rarely eat it. So when I do, I usually try to lighten it up a little bit. A lot of times, all you have to do is ask the waiter and they can ask the chef. But I actually don't like a lot of heavy cream type sauces on my pasta. So a lot of times what I'll do is actually ask that it be tossed with olive oil and chopped basil. And 9 times out of 10, they'll actually say yes. But again, you actually have to ask. The other thing you can do, if you're going to splurge on your entree, just be cognizant of what you're doing for your sides. Most restaurants either give you side choices, mac and cheese, loaded baked potato, mashed potatoes, but then they'll also have, the grilled vegetables, the steamed vegetables. You might want to stay away from the cream spinach and the cream corn, but a lot of the vegetables you can always get grilled and sauteed if you want to splurge on the entree themselves. As far as the breads, request whole grains whenever possible. A lot of times, again, if you just ask, instead of the white rice, do you have brown rice? And you'll see that a lot of times your choices can be accommodated. Number 5, try to increase the amount of fruits and vegetables every chance you get. And really and truly, the simple rationale behind this is that the more fruit and vegetables that you fill up on, the less high-fat foods that you're going to have room for. Look for dishes that include high nutrient, high fiber fruits and vegetables. And we sort of talked about consider ordering a salad as your entree, but just be cognizant of exactly what you're getting in the salad. I sort of mentioned the chopped salads before. Another big downfall I always see is a taco salads that actually has up to 1,000 calories. Another food tip I see that people have a lot of issues with is the condiments and your sides and your dipping sauces. A lot of condiments are actually super high in fat and calories, especially the creamy ones. So Caesar dressings, ranch dressings, mayonnaise, tater tots. There's some countries in Europe where the French fries, instead of the ketchup, they're actually served with mayo and all these different cream dips, which actually can put on the calories pretty quickly. So just be careful with everything that you're spreading on your sandwiches, that you're dipping on your food. And if you can, actually try some vinegar-based or balsamic-based type sides. Another big tip would be looking for more seafood. In general, and I do say in general because there's exceptions, but in general, seafood is going to have a lot less fat than beef or pork dishes, based on how they're prepared. Now, keep in mind, this does not include fried fish, monster po' boys, or things like that, but it's always good to experience, the specialty of the regions. Sometimes on a northeastern coast or on the western coast, they actually have different types of fish or seafoods that may not readily be available in Texas. So that would be a good opportunity, to try to eat more seafood than you would normally eat here. It's also a great way to increase your weekly doses of heart-healthy fats, like healthy omega-3 fatty acids. The fish that would find highest in omega-3 fatty acids would be things like salmon, herring, steelhead trout, sardines, smelt, and anchovies. And again, I sort of mentioned avoid battered and fried fishes or dishes, fried lobster, and things like that. And again, if you really, really have to have it, we sort of go back to one of the tips before. It's like try to split it with whoever you're with and try not to eat the whole thing. Next food tip. This is what I call that blank basket. That's an expert tip. Because the basket that they put on your table that they keep filling up and filling up and filling up before you even get your meal. The basket can have a whole bunch of great hot sourdough bread, rolls, tortilla chips, crackers, or whatever it is, which is usually, number one, 90% of the time, straight carbs. It's usually not a whole grain carb. And so you're eating all of this, and, if it's chips, you may be eating it with salsa, and it tastes great, but before you look up, you may have actually already consumed at least 500 calories before you've even gotten your first dish. So be very cognizant, of what they're putting in the basket and how much you're eating that before you even start eating. And a lot of times, I may take one piece of the bread and actually ask the waiter to take it off the table because, a lot of times you're enjoying your company and you're just grazing and you don't even realize how much you're eating when it's just there. Next food tip is your desserts, the dreaded desserts. Now, I love desserts, but, I always say everything in moderation. And again, this goes back to trying to split it. Or what I've noticed that some restaurants have actually been doing is they actually offer mini portions of their dishes, or they'll do like a trio sampler of their dish. And so again, just using a little of, I guess you would say, common sense as far as what you can have. And again, one of the other things you can do, one of the things that I've done sometimes is that if I know this certain restaurant has a dessert that everybody's been talking about, you have to have it, you have to have it. And if I know I'm probably going to indulge in that dessert, then what I'll do is that instead of ordering a huge entree or ordering a lot at the front end of my meal, I'll actually scale back on the entree or order a salad, and then I'll just go ahead and have the dessert and I won't feel guilty about it. Now, there is not a slide here called travel tip number 10, but all of my patients know that I always say food and exercise go hand in hand. So I sort of in my mind have travel tip number 10, and it's called get moving. So what I'd like to say is I want to spend a couple of moments talking about ways to get your exercise in while traveling. So number one, do more walking. Be sure to pack comfortable shoes so that you can walk around more. It's cheaper than catching taxis, especially in your places like New York, and it helps you work off all the calories that you're probably going to indulge anyway. Some cities actually have great walking tours. You can schedule them ahead of time, or you can ask the concierge at your hotel. And it's actually a really good way to see the city. If you're traveling abroad, walking is actually really great because you get to see so much more on foot than you would ever do in a car or a taxi. Number 2, pack your gym clothes. This is something that I've had to sort of work on over the years because many people use the excuse, when they're in a hotel, oh, I didn't bring anything to work out, or oh, I didn't bring my tennis shoes. So plan ahead of time, pack your clothes, because if they're at least in your luggage, that increases the probability that you actually might use it. Now, some hotels have actually gotten smarter and figured out a lot of times people just conveniently forget their gym clothes. And I know the Westin brand, they actually have a program called Westin Workout where you can actually rent things to work out in. They have the tennis shoes, they have shirts, they have capris, and the fee is actually pretty nominal. It's like $7 a day. So you can always ask the front desk or the concierge if they participate in something like that. The other thing that I've noticed is that if you're an avid runner, a lot of front desks actually have printed out running trails and pre-planned courses. So when you check in, ask the front desk, do they have a copy of anything like that? Because a lot of times they actually have the mileage and everything already plotted out for you, the safest route to do on foot. And so that's another tip you can do. Number 4, bring your own DVDs. If you're a person who maybe you don't like going to the gym, you don't like working out in front of people, you can grab a Jillian Michaels CD or yoga CD, whatever. And most hotels actually have DVD players. And if they don't, you can actually ask the front desk, because I actually did that when I was in Orlando. There wasn't one in the room, but I asked the front desk and they brought it up right away, and I had a DVD player. So that's another thing that you can do and work out in your room before you even start your day. Number 5, pick hotels with a gym. If you're planning way ahead of time, just look for a hotel with a gym. So that's something off your list too. Number 6, participate in active excursions like hiking or bike riding. A lot of times when you're on a cruise, you spend a lot of time on the boat, but I always say look at excursions because, again, it's a great way to see, whatever city or port that you're at. Number 7, something simple that I tell people to do at work, not just on vacation, but instead of taking elevators or things like that, climb steps. Now, with all that being said, it always goes back to planning, planning, planning. So plan before you depart. So know your destination location and stopping points in between when you're traveling. Don't be afraid to take food with you. I do it all the time. Like I said, it ends up coming out cheaper and is more convenient half the time. Try and plan your meal around food groups, increasing vegetable and fruits. And it's okay to splurge for one meal a day. But again, you have to sort of decide, okay, this is the meal I'm going to go for, and plan your other meals accordingly. Pick restaurants that have healthy options for you. A lot of restaurants will actually let you view the menu before you even really walk in the door or sit down. So look at what they have. If it looks like you're not going to be able to make pretty good choices there, move on to the next restaurant. Don't be afraid to ask for nutrition information for your menu items. Now, they might not be able to exactly tell you how many calories, what's the saturated fat, what is the polyunsaturated. They may not be able to tell you that, but a lot of times just by them telling you how it's prepared, you'll be able to get a pretty good idea of whether or not it's something that you should indulge in. So vacations are trips away from everyday routines, but health doesn't have to go on vacation too. So pack your not 9, but 10 vacation tips, considering I add one, and bring them with you. And with that, I'll go ahead and open the floor for questions. And yes, Emma, I will type up and get a copy of number 10 for you. And if anybody else wants a copy of number 10, what we can do is add it to the slide presentation and resend it out. Okay, so looking at the poll that we did at the very beginning, it looks as though 67% of you said yes, all of your habits go kaput when you go out of town on vacation, and 33% of you said no, you are absolutely perfect when you go on vacation. So this is an anonymous poll, so I don't know if that 33% is actually telling the truth, but hopefully with some of the things that we talked about today, that 33% of no will actually be increased. So if there's no other questions, oh, okay. What is the easiest way to make your food choices toddler friendly? That is a great question. And I am internal medicine and not pediatrics. However, if I had to say, it's probably going to be something maybe bite-sized and fun. I actually just saw the other day that Chick-fil-A is actually making grilled chicken nuggets now. Now, granted, I haven't tasted them, but that might be, one of the things that you can try to do is something that's bite-sized but maybe not fried.
Thank you, Dr. Jordan. That was so good. I may have a few questions myself. I'm actually going on vacation in a few weeks, thank goodness, because I need one. And it's always hard for me to not order from appetizer all the way to dessert because I feel like I deserve it on vacation. What advice do you recommend for the ones that just want to order it all? Or, what do you think we should pick from?
Okay, so if you want to do the traditional, European ordering where you have your appetizer, your first course, your second course, your third course, your dessert, then what I would say is that, okay, if you know you're definitely going to order something from each one of those categories, then what I would probably say is to think very hard of what you're going to order from. So for instance, like appetizers, instead of getting something fried per se, one thing that I love and that a lot of people are doing more of is say ceviche because it tastes great, it's very fresh, refreshing, it's good for the summer, but it's not high in calories and it's something healthy. And so I would probably say if you're definitely going to order one thing off of each one, again, pick the one or two splurge items off the menu that you really, really, really want. And then the other two items, find something that you'll like, but maybe that's a little bit less in calories or less breaded or less oily. Okay. One of the questions, what is a good cutoff time in the evening to stop your snacking? So typically what I tell people is that, and again, vacation is a little bit different, but I myself usually try not to eat after 7 or 8 o'clock, period. Now, if you're someone who stays up late, then you might have to have a little late snack. If you're somebody who doesn't go to bed until midnight or 1 o'clock, which is probably another issue, but we won't go into that on this conversation, then you might need, say, like a 10 p.m. snack. Now, the question is, well, actually, it's probably a better question is, what should you snack with late at night? So one of the ways people pound on calories is that they eat very high fat, high carb foods at night. So what I usually tell people is that if you're going to snack at night, make it something light so it doesn't sort of roll over into the next day. Typical things that you can probably snack on would be maybe just a few crackers and some cheese. And I always say balance out protein with a carb. Don't do a straight carb because that's going to roll over into a high glycemic the next morning. If you're really just snackers, you can also do carrots, celery, cauliflower, broccoli, any type of fresh vegetables with a little bit of either Greek yogurt. I've sort of gotten away from just regular dips now, and a lot of people can do Greek yogurts and flavor it with different seasonings or ranch packages or like some of the dry seasoning packets. Some people can do fruit at night, but again, even though fruit is technically healthy, it is a carb, so you might want to balance some protein with that too. What types of examples can you give for healthy road in the car trip foods? And I'm not sure if they mean a full meal or snacks? If it's going to be a full meal, what me and my husband do sometimes, and I guess we're just planners, but we actually have like a little igloo or a miniature ice thing in the car, and we make things like a salmon salad, very low mayo chicken salad, fruits, vegetables, and things like that, where it's portable and you can still eat it in the hand, eat it with your hand in the car. Snack foods. If you're really, really a big chip person, then I would probably say something like pop chips or something like that. That's actually a lot less low in saturated fats than regular chips. And again, we go back to fruits and vegetables. Or if it's on the go, then I would probably say look at places like Subway or Quiznos that might have, say, like a grilled turkey, grilled chicken, or something like that. And even if you have to go to a place like McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, you can still get either possibly a wrap, and you would probably have to say hold the mayonnaise or whatever sauce is on it, so you have to be cognizant of what type of sauce is on your sandwich, or a grilled chicken sandwich or something like that. Would a smoothie count as a snack or a meal? Fruit smoothie made with frozen yogurt. So number one, I would probably say how many ounces is your smoothie, because I've seen people do 8 ounces versus 16 ounces. And so depending on how big it is, it could be a snack if it's sort of a small smoothie, but there's also people I know who replace the whole meal with a smoothie. It sort of depends on what your goal total calories you individually is doing as a person.
Alrighty, thank you so much, Dr. Jordan. That concludes our webinar for today. Thank you so much for joining us, and be sure to join us next month when Dr. Knight presents cool tips for the hot days ahead. July will be hot, as we all know, living in Houston, so I hope that you all definitely tune in to hear him. Before we sign off, I just want to remind you to follow us on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Google+, and add us on Facebook. Thanks again for tuning in, and we will chat next month.